begin by calling the roll. Chair Parker is present. Councilmember Allen present. Councilmember Hauser is in traffic. Councilmember Mendez is present. Sepulveda, I saw her, but... Oh, she is in the room? Okay, great. Present. Councilmember Sledge is absent. Councilmember Suara is with us. Councilmember Taylor is here. Councilmember Toombs is here, and Councilmember Welsh is here. Excellent. So we do have a quorum. All right, we'll just run through the agenda. There's only 4 items, so we won't do a consent or anything. First up is Resolution 2022-1507 by O'Connell, Allen, Withers. This approves an option agreement between the Metropolitan Government and the state of Tennessee to purchase the property located at 88 Hermitage Avenue. We also have a late amendment in here. I don't know if anybody wishes to move that, but could someone move the resolution itself? All right, moved and seconded. Thank you. And I asked that this be referred to this committee because there has been some discussion on the floor about the potential for affordable housing development on this property. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to hear from the administration and our housing director a little bit about when we're doing property acquisition, what we're looking for in terms of opportunities and approach for specifically for the affordable housing utilization of those properties. So I can turn it over if you would, Ms. Hubbard. Let me find your button. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would be glad to speak to this opportunity. We all know the extent of the housing crisis that we're experiencing in Nashville, but it's particularly acute when we talk about what's available downtown housing-wise. And just for an example, we have over 7,000 existing units, and only 2% of those are income restricted at 80% or below the area median income. We have at least 5,000 in the pipeline, meaning they're under construction and should come online sometime between now and 2024, and then another 5,000 plus announced. At this time, there are none that are income restricted. And when we talk about just rents, when we look at HUD's fair market rent for 2021 for Nashville, it's $1,031 for a one-bedroom. Downtown, the average rent for a one-bedroom is $2,113. We all know downtown Nashville is accessible, or is a great place for different types of opportunities for jobs and amenities. And we have a workforce that currently doesn't have a place to live near downtown on a transit corridor. And this is a multimodal corridor with, Hermitage Avenue and the bus stop, as well as a greenway. And so as we were looking at this site and this opportunity, first of all, and I'll defer to public property for some more specific information, but there isn't any other site for sale downtown, and certainly not at this price point. And we are looking at all Metro-owned assets and what's affordable, because we need to take advantage, or what's appropriate for housing, because we need to take advantage of property wherever we can get it. This one in particular offers an opportunity to construct at least 350 new units, and we would also have the opportunity to collaborate with MDHA, who owns a parcel that's adjacent, and being able to collaborate and leverage and partner with them on housing opportunities is just a unique and rare situation that we find ourselves in with this property.
Excellent. Thank you. I guess for the administration, so I appreciate the intent or interest in utilizing this property for that, but is there any way to sort of bake that in? I know I saw the late amendment from Johnston, but let's say this thing gets developed 7 years from now when none of us are, in these seats. How do we make sure that the intent that we have with this carries through? Is there any legal way we can do that, or strings we can put on that? I see Councilmember Mendez. I'll recognize Councilmember Mendez.
I meant to be after that, after they answer.
Mr. Mr. Jameson, please.
I have seen, I'm trying to pull up the late filed amendment. If I understand correctly, it has essentially two recital provisions, one of which would have a deed restriction for, or assuming Metro's ownership, then Metro would then impose deed restrictions for the housing requirement. I think that is in keeping. The second provision, I understand, would require any proceeds from any subsequent sale or lease of the properties go to parks deferred maintenance. That's a little unusual that we would be taking housing funding and directing it to a different department in a different account. But they are both resolution recitals, and so if it's simply an expression of preference, I think we can work within those confines. But yes, the way to restrict the uses of it would typically be a deed restriction. We can't force the state to undo that, but once we acquire ownership, we have that capability.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jameson. I'll recognize Councilmember Mendez.
I guess, and sorry I couldn't make the presentation on Friday. The analysis that we've got with the agenda says that Parks and Recreation has approved the acquisition of this property, and I don't think it well, to your point, Chair, there's nothing in the resolution that says it should go toward affordable housing. I guess from my perspective, like I'm not. If we purchase it, I think I'd rather have the use be open-ended. I suspect that as far as affordable housing goes, it'd be the most anybody's ever paid for an affordable housing unit per unit in the history of the state of Tennessee and maybe beyond, given how much repair cost is needed for the building. And I'm just not entirely clear right now what the best use is in the long run. And I guess I'm trying to mesh the analysis saying it's Parks and Recreation has approved the acquisition and the talk as if it's a done deal that it's going to become affordable housing. How should I mesh those two thoughts?
I saw Councilmember Hurt. We'll go to Councilmember Hurt next.
That was a question for either our council or for the administration.
Would Mr. Jameson, please?
I don't know if Tim Naich is in the audience, but I think he can address. This came up and was submitted for Parks acquisition or within the Parks business unit account, if you will, primarily because they were the adjacent property owner, and given the I think intentional open-ended uses, just essentially allowing them to be the placeholder acquiring division. And then at some point, perhaps it makes more sense for this to be developed through general services or through finance. We were in somewhat of a pickle because of the state's posture with us. I think we've referenced a couple of times that they are somewhat impatient with us and have made clear that this acquisition needs to occur before the end of this fiscal year, before the end of this month. So we're moving forward with this as a parks acquisition, but they have made clear, I think Mr. Naich has made clear at the presentation on Friday, that the development for housing is the clear intent. It would not be developed as park property per se, but this is the best acquisition model we have in the time constraint we have given the state's demeanor.
Thank you, Mr. Jameson. Councilmember Hurt, you are in the queue. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, although I'm not on this committee. I have one simple question, and that is that if this is going to be affordable housing, will they offer vouchers for future residents, and will they make them priority since it's affordable housing?
Director Hubbard.
Thank you, Council Lady. It is our commitment that as we utilize Metro resources, we are intentionally creating opportunities for very low income and not refusing any vouchers. We will look at fair housing laws and in consultation with MDHA on making sure if we can make those a priority. But we would certainly make sure that we have housing for 0 to 30 very low income as part of this development.
Right. Now, you said if we can, and to have some housing, that could be from 10% to 100%. So I'd like to know what percentage of that 100% that you would have for those individuals, because I think they are going to need it more than anyone, because many of them are being removed and displaced out of their homes now and nowhere to go.
Thank you. What we have proposed with MDHA is following the purchase, we would engage in a technical feasibility study where we look at both what they would look to propose and what we have the ability to propose, and create the right income targets that would get at the priorities for creating. What that percentage looks like for both of these opportunities for development is what we'll explore, and then looking for the resources to create that's most appropriate and beneficial to the city.
Well, I was there, as you know, with the Randy Rogers apartments, and I was very pleased, and I know that 50% of them are going to those who do have vouchers, but we're going to have more than that in other places. I was happy that we had the 25% workforce and 25% market rate, simply because we need to have diverse incomes in that community. That's the way it has been for the past 25 years. I don't know what it's going to be for those years to come, but just want to make sure that we have an adequate amount of housing for those who are on vouchers.
Thank you for your support of that.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the administration for making the opportunity for the info session and the tour. That was very helpful. I was a little bit surprised that the building actually just looks like somebody has started the renovation and pulled down the ceiling tile, but the bones are good. So that was good to see that. One question I have is, again, just trying to think through how this goes from parks to housing, and one of the goals that we talked about was this piece of property provides an opportunity for a gateway to Wharf Park, and I'm just trying to remember I don't remember where the property lines are. So how much of the space in the existing building would be taken up with housing? And I don't know, I'm asking design questions that are way down the line, but can you talk through the compatibility of it providing the gateway that we talked about, as well as possibly housing at the same time?
Thank you. To clarify, when we're talking about new housing, in this scenario that was not discussed in previous conversations, there is a site for new housing. At this point, we're not talking about housing in the existing structure. Part of the technical feasibility study would be to look at what would be the appropriate adaptive reuse of that school, and then how we would go about either if it's for a public use or another use, how would we engage with that rehabilitation and moving that use forward. So the new 350 units is what would be available, or what the opportunity is to create new on a pad that is on that site adjacent. It's on the end adjacent to MDHA's property, and that would still leave that gateway open space in front of the school that then we talked about that would then just transition on down the bluff.
So the biggest advantage is just having this conglomeration of property.
Absolutely.
Together. Okay.
Yes, and that connectivity and the access for the greenway.
Okay. And then two other things. I know this is only peripherally related, but we continue to connect this to the Wharf Park, which is another decision. But I know historic preservation is important, and I think it's good that we're baking that in, I believe. And then Also, I just want to be on the record as saying, however this entire development goes out, that we need to be very intentional about the encampment at the bottom of the hill, and that those people are provided with good options and not just moved out of the way, because that's just, right now, it's home to a large number of people that we need to handle in an appropriate fashion.
Absolutely, and I'll defer to the folks from the Metro Homeless Impact Division for their specific strategy, but I know that they are working with the Homelessness Planning Council on an overall strategy that is countywide, that it's an urgent matter to get our unhoused neighbors into housing, and as we go through the community conversation as part of that technical feasibility study, great sensitivity to anyone living on that side and how we can get them into housing as quickly as possible. And honestly, the timeline of constructing something and getting it up and open versus the immediacy of getting someone into housing will be what we would be looking at.
Okay, thank you. And then one final comment is just, I appreciate the comment about countywide, because certainly there are people who deal with other encampments that would like to be also at the front of the line. So thanks for addressing that.
You're welcome.
Okay, seeing nobody else in the queue. All those in favor of Resolution 2022-1507, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? Okay, is everybody still here? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting 8 in favor, 0 against. Okay. All right, up next we have RS 2022-1550 by Alan Welsh and Suara. This approves an eviction diversion initiative grant from the National Center for State Courts to the Davidson County General Sessions Court, Division 8, to establish or expand court-based eviction diversion programs to prevent avoidable evictions. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second. Moved and seconded. Okay, any discussion on this item? No, we can just approve it. Okay, all those in favor of RS 2022-1550, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? Thank you. Up next, RS 2022-1559 by Suara, Gamble, Johnston, and others. This appropriates $2,600,851 in American Rescue Plan Act funds to provide legal representation to low and moderate income Davidson County renters to defend against landlord eviction. Do we have a motion? Moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion on this? Councilmember Suara, anyone want to speak on this? I'm fine with just approving it. Okay, all those in favor of RS 2022-1559, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, lastly, we have RS 2022-1576 by Parker, Allen, Welsh, and others. This approves a subrecipient This approves a subrecipient grant agreement between the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency and the Metropolitan Social Services for one-time payments of first month's rent and security utility deposits on behalf of homeless persons obtaining housing through various campaigns. Do we have a motion? And a second, properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on 1576? Seeing none, all those in favor of 1576, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? Thank you. All right, well, that concludes the Affordable Housing Committee. Budget is up next.